The requirement for Haslar was realised around about 1740. It was deemed that work would start on Haslar to be the first hospital for the Royal Navy. There had never been one before. Well, the mission statement was to actually serve the sick and injured of the sailors who were arriving in Portsmouth at the jetty opposite Haslar. In the first instance, the dead and dying were actually brought on handcarts, pulled by the staff up to the arcade. In 1870, they built a tramway. Haslar, in a way, has always been at the cutting edge, right back into the 18th century. The injured were taken from the Battle of Waterloo, the Crimean Wars, the Boer Wars, the African Wars. The capacity of Haslar waxed and waned according to the various battles that were going on. Numbers would increase to over 2,000 patients, 114 wards, which is immense. And then we go into the First World War, and Haslar was taking patients here from the war. There was Portuguese, there were French, there was American, and there were English, all here being cared for. Haslar was busy during World War II. Preparation for D-Day started at least a year, 18 months beforehand, planning for caring for the patients. And there were some 1,700 casualties that came in through Haslar's doors from the 7th of July till mid-August. One of the notable changes for Haslar after the Second World War was the formation of the National Health Service. The Navy actually agreed to 84 beds being provided for the care of NHS patients, and that increased even more into the 60s and the 70s. In my time, there was over 360 civilian staff, and I would say at times a good 1,000 medical branch personnel. When the closure was announced, we were all called into St Luke's Church by the then commanding officer, and he knew he had a very sad tale to tell and to inform everybody. And when he actually went into his speech, there was a silence like a block of stone.
I do remember back when it first started closing. I remember the uproar, I remember the community wanting to get together, I remember banners, I remember petitions, I remember walks.
The majority of people in Gosport were fairly devastated when they heard the news. There's probably not very many people in Gosport that have not had some attachment to Haslar at some point, whether they've been a patient or worked here or had a relative that has worked here.
It's unnerving, I think, for people that something that's been so long-standing for such a long time can just go. And slowly over the years, you can see those buildings not being used, just, literally frozen in time.
There's been plenty of sites around Gosport that the Royal Navy, in its shrinking form, has left. Unfortunately, a lot of those sites have been allowed to stay empty and actually fall down for many years.
I think if the development of Haslar didn't take place, then the site would just become derelict. It would become dangerous, and it would just turn into an eyesore and an embarrassment that such a great place had been allowed to decay. It was built to last, it was built for a purpose, and it was built to be a national symbol.
It was quite a relief to see a developer come in and be able to start work and actually give hope that there was a real future for this beautiful site.
I think that after a period of silence when the hospital had closed, the stones and flagstones will be saying, another chapter. And it's lovely to actually see its history is still here, the memories are still here amongst the bricks, mortar and stone slabs.
Royal Haslar is a massive site. There is no site that I've worked in the last 19 years like it. It's a huge amount to take in. And I think if you're looking online just at an advert, it's really difficult to gauge what the actual feel is. You can't advertise the ambience of a site, you know, how peaceful it is here.
I'd be very surprised if people in Gosport aren't some of the calmest people in the country because they have the beach to go to. And to be in Haslar particularly and to just look out and see the sea, it just feels like a permanent holiday.
I'm sat here now in what used to be called the airing grounds. Before the days of antibiotics, the great cure for a lot of hospital patients was to get out into the sunshine and the fresh air. And in fact, they used to use all this parkland to slowly walk round and convalesce. So this was designed originally to be a tranquil place, and it still remains so, just without the patients around us.
People who see Haslar in marketing material, you will see the beautiful property, you will see the beautiful location, and those were the things that first attracted us. But as we've been here, it's the intangible things that have started to make us love the place. You just feel that there's all that history in this very location. It's really inspirational. The second intangible really is there's this great sense of community and supporting each other, helping each other, and just celebrating the place we're in. Every opportunity we have to put up a marquee and bunting and have cakes and a party, we take. We just feel very blessed that we're here.
I think the development of Haslar is a very positive thing for the town. It will bring prosperity to the town, it will bring local employment to the area, which is much needed. And as a photographer, the project has been extremely interesting because I've managed to photograph the hospital in its worst state. But now I've got the opportunity to photograph it as it re-emerges. And it would be fascinating just to sort of document this and say, look what they've done here, this is great, and to see how it's going to grow.
All of a sudden it's alive again. It's faded from black and white, and now all of a sudden it's colourful again and it's coming alive, and the apartments are starting to fill up, and the site with all the things it's going to offer, like the spa and the supermarket and everything else that are going to be open. I think it's got quite a bright future. It'd be a great place to live. I'd move there in a heartbeat. It's wonderful.
It does have a long history ahead of it as well as behind it, I'm quite certain.
After 250 plus years, Haslar has completed its duty, and the best way really is to say to those who are now residents here, we hand the watch to you.